your mother. It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just some high-flying wren, fast vertical stems of professors from Penn watching eagles eat and pray like Pazookies on birthdays. It's Philadelphia, Marissa, Bo, and Zach kicking it. Cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Marissa, Bo, and Zach are here to squawk. Don't miss the mistress talk on some.
Are you trying to seduce me, Mr. Roseman?
That should be a drop for you. We should take away the dirt of the earth drop, and let's turn the camera.
You got it, Zach.
Yes, yeah. Let's turn the camera on to the Athletics Red Star reporter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends on a Thursday afternoon. Bo Wulf, Marissa Dunn, and the returning Zach Berman here. We've got a big show planned for you today. We're going to do a little flock trial. We're going to do a little haters versus hype man on 4 parts of the Eagles: Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Cam Jurgens, and the Eagles coaching staff. We will get the rundown of what's been going on at the NovaCare complex over the past couple of weeks, what is to come over the next couple of weeks. We'll get Zach's thoughts on his absence, what he thought of last week's episode. But Marissa, first of all, how are you?
I'm very happy. I'm happy we have Zach back. I only have a few more weeks before I go on maternity leave. So I'm excited for this pod and to hang out with you guys for a little bit. So
and can we share the good
guys?
news?
Oh yeah, my sister had her baby last night.
Marissa.
Yes, I'm officially an aunt.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna go down there tonight. She actually had the baby in Philly at Temple. So and said the nurses and everyone was wonderful there. So if we have anyone listening that works there, thank you for all you do. So yeah, very excited, and it's gonna definitely make me I'm already excited for our baby, but once I get to hold her, it will make it all more real. So can't wait. Yeah.
Zach, how are you?
I'm doing great. Excited for this pod. I missed you guys. Right during the season, we see each other so much on the screen. And but during the off season, the 1 week, the 1 week cadence for the pod becomes such a thing that I look forward to it. And I missed.
Oh, for once. How rare of you to actually look forward to an episode of the show.
I missed not having you guys or speaking to you guys last week, but I did listen to the pod. It was a long one, so it took me like 3 sittings to finish. But it was a good pod. Marissa was awesome. Bo was awesome. I thought Michael was terrific, handling a delicate situation there. But I'm happy to be back on, and we have like 2 more weeks to talk about football before the long summer break. So eager to talk about football here.
Well, Zach, why don't you tell us what is the schedule here for the Eagles ahead of the long summer break?
The schedule is shorter and more condensed than any other team in the league. Okay, the Eagles only have 6 practices essentially, OTAs, and it's really they don't have mandatory minicamp. They're not going full out. Typically, teams have 10 OTAs. They have 3 days of mandatory minicamp. So the Eagles and the Bengals are the only teams, I believe, that don't have mandatory minicamp, and the Eagles have fewer OTAs. They did this last year. It's in the name of preserving the players and I was going to say health and safety. I don't know if it's a safety thing. It's more a health thing based on what they understand, and it worked for them last year. And coming off of a longer season, I think it's certainly welcome by the players. From our perspective,
not by you. Yeah.
No, because it gives I was about to say, from our perspective, it gives us less exposure to them.
Fewer.
Well, no, you can't have fewer exposure. It's less exposure, right? Less exposure, fewer practices, less exposure to watch them, to speak with them. That said, the other part of my brain says, well, once, late July picks up, we'll be there every day, just about. So eager for that, but that's what their schedule is. Their first OTA is next week, Tuesday. So the day after Memorial Day. That is the 30th. And it's basically 2 weeks, and then school's out for the summer.
Beautiful. Just in time for Marissa's maternity leave.
Yeah.
All right. Zach, let's I don't know if we need to go full stone cold newsman here, but we haven't had a chance to talk to a few players and coaches over the past couple of weeks. Neither you nor I were there last week, but yesterday we talked to Nakobe Dean, your boy Josh Sweat, Jordan Mailata, one other person. Who was the first person?
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. And last week there was another cast of characters. What did you learn? What can we impart on our listeners so that they don't have to go through and watch those press conferences?
Well, I think let's start with Nakobe Dean, because he's a big name this summer, or this spring rather. The fact that he was up there, right, I think is also suggestive of his standing here. They have no problem pumping him up. Howie Roseman has said publicly the second-year guys are going to play. You can tell by the Eagles' actions, they did not sign or draft over him. Nakobe Dean is the top linebacker right now, and Nakobe Dean said he was ready last year. He had to wait his turn, but we'll get to Nakobe here. But he's a prominent name on this. He's a prominent name on this team. Like he's an important player on this team. Devontae Smith, the day before this week, he was on, I think it was the I Am Athlete podcast. Is that right? Where he said that he's a top 10 receiver, which isn't a controversial take. But he said he's always felt that way. Jordan Mailata was the best man in Landon Dickerson's wedding. And Jordan Mailata himself cried
after giving the speech.
Yeah, getting married in a year and a half. Oh, I'm sorry, not in a year, in a month and a half or thereabout, or less than that, in about a month and a week, I believe. And he was talking about his relationship with Dickerson. He was talking about how Jeff Stoutland is always coaching him. He was talking about how when he came here, he was looking at the vets in the room. And now guys are looking at him, right? You're kind of passing it down. It's like, it's like when young writers meet Bo and they want to find out the tricks of the trade.
To be fair, that's not what he said. He said the room still looks to Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. He doesn't feel like he is one of those people, but
he is. He acknowledged that he is. Yeah. He would not tell which left tackles are looking at him. All he has to do,
tell that you were digging. He called you out directly.
All he has to do is say Johnson, because that kind of covers like half of the room. You really didn't sell that one, huh? Roderick and Fred
and Lane
Lane. Yeah. Lane's not looking at Jordan though. It was interesting. I was taking a walk this morning listening to Chris Long and Jason Kelce. They're talking about like underappreciated Eagles, and Chris Long said Nelson Aguilar like didn't get the credit that he deserved, and Kelce said Lane, and Chris Long is like, really? People are, fans are on Lane. And Kelsey's point is no, Lane should just be talked about like one of the greats. And so I thought that was interesting. Kelce spoke last week when neither one of us were present, unfortunately, but I did check those out. It was the day when he was named PFWA Good Guy. You ripped on me on the podcast for retweeting that. I felt an obligation considering that I was quoted in there, so I thought I should put it out there, right?
Flex.
Yeah, I was gonna say it actually.
That's a flex. No, I just felt
like a huge flex.
It's a good flex, Zach.
Okay, all right. I was.
Did you miss us?
Yeah, I did. I missed.
It's not that it wasn't that you retweeted it, is that it's like that you did it from vacation. Like you didn't need to be on Twitter at that moment.
Well, that's a subjective concept, right? I like knowing what's going on in the world. I like finding
it's
out.
It's hard to not be on Twitter. I find it. I wish I was on it less, but I understand, Zach.
I was taking a lot of bus rides. I was checking out. I was following along. So AJ Brown spoke last week. I'm trying to jog my so with Kelce, he said nothing's changed for Jalen Hurts except for, I believe he used an aura of commas, which was what do you got there?
Seltzer.
Oh, okay. What kind?
This is a Good and Gather caffeinated pear hibiscus.
Interesting.
Do you like it?
It's okay. I don't have a strong
I
opinion.
like pears, but I don't know, like flavored
okay.
pear
Yeah.
stuff. But
A little
pear's
extra
good flavor.
caffeine, you know?
Oh, it's got caffeine in it. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what caffeinated means.
I didn't hear you say caffeinated. I just heard you say seltzer. Okay. Welcome back, Bo. And so Kelsey was he talked about why he returned, and he used this anecdote. I've heard this anecdote so much now that I can recite it.
Another flex.
Which is that when you know it's Jeff Stoutland always told him that when he's ready to go, he won't want to come back and play. And he said, I'm always going to want to play. And Stoutland says, no, there'll be a time when you won't want to. And there are days when he doesn't want to go, but overall he wants to go.
What is it? If you doubt, don't, or what is the line that he heard?
When in doubt, don't.
When in doubt, don't.
Yeah. I've
Still
also
could go
heard
both ways. Yeah.
I've also heard when you haven't made your decision, you've already made your decision, right? Like, I'm meaning that like if you're, I think this is a Bill Parcells thing that once someone starts thinking about doing it, they've already done it. But that doesn't obviously apply to Kelsey, who considers it. But AJ Brown spoke. He said he was kind of gearing up to get ready for OTAs. He's got a lot of personal goals. He did not necessarily want to share them. Who else spoke? Alex Tanny did. He kind of talked about his path to getting to that point. We'll have more on Alex Tanny as the season progresses, as the summer progresses.
And what were your thoughts on the P conversation?
What were my thoughts on the P conversation?
Yes.
I didn't necessarily know if it deserved the amount of attention that it did on the pod.
I thought it was the single most interesting thing we've ever covered on this podcast.
we did get a text from Shield that said he had no idea that this was the policy and the procedures, so he was very fascinated.
I mean, where else have you ever heard that inside football?
Well, I want to push back on a few things. First off, Bo has an objection with me asking a waiter or waitress for like any additional information, but he thinks it's totally like normal to have conversations with the person watching. Like, let this guy. If you're saying to me when we go out to eat that this waiter or waitress just wants to serve the food and get to the next table, my strong suspicion is the person collecting your urine sample is probably of that same inclination. It's probably more of the inclination. Like,
who knows? Michael's the one who's experienced it. I haven't experienced it. He's the one who knows. He's saying they're chatty.
He was very chatty. Yeah, he was enjoying the conversation.
He got a U.
No, he got a what?
He got a U. He got someone like you as the P collector, somebody who wants to chat.
I didn't know where you're going with that one. Yeah, I thought Michael acquitted himself well for that.
I thought that was the most interesting thing I've ever heard about football.
Yeah, that was the most interesting thing you've ever
about
heard.
The life of a pro football player.
Did you not know that?
I didn't know the actual details of it.
Yeah, that part
you knew that. You knew that some guys aren't able to pee without also going number 2 and have to do that in front of the pee collector.
No, that part I didn't know. I didn't realize you had such stage fright peeing. You were saying before you go to the doctor's office, you're.
It's not about stage fright. It's about the pressure of having to pee. Then, yeah.
I mean, they don't need a Gatorade bottle full of it. They just need like
it's a decent sized sample.
You're happy to just squeeze it out.
Zach's
whenever?
very
You're
hydrated. We know because he's got.
That's true. That's true.
100 ounces. Yeah.
That's true.
So.
Yeah. But no, I did find it to be an enjoyable conversation. I thought it was, I thought it was interesting. I guess we'll just get to this now. It's like sometimes there's a coach who's like demanding, a certain type of player or something for however long he's there. And then once he leaves, like they acquire that player. And it's like, why wasn't that the case when I was there? And so all I ever talk about with you guys is let's do a mailbag pod. And Bo's like, we can't do a mail. That's the most unoriginal thing. Okay. Why would we do a mailbag pod? And then literally I missed one podcast this entire year. And you make it a mailbag pod. So I thought that was a little
with
like
you on that one, Zach.
Yeah.
You have
That's
been
very
pushing
funny.
for a mailbag for a while.
And Bo was like, that's the most unoriginal thing to do. And yet once I leave, he calls for the mailbag pod. I think it's a good way to engage your audience, which I found to be the case. I was so appreciative of Marissa throughout the pod would continue to like bring up, what do you think Zach would think here? And then she would project it, and she was on cue every single time.
Well, it was like not the same without you, Zach.
Well,
I
thank
said, your absence was really felt. So I was, throughout the pod thinking like, what would Zach do?
So
would Zach think?
the coach that I would want to fill in for me would be, you guys didn't hit either way. I did agree with what Bo said. I would be frustrated for missing any of them because I would want that audience. But the answer is clearly D'Amico Ryans, because he's the only one who would feel more awkward in this seat than I would. Okay, because
I would just be talking about
there would be a restraining order by the end of the podcast. It would be.
That's good.
Good
I like
answer.
He'd call the Texans PR person and say, "You had me as a guest on this football podcast, and this guy was hitting on me the whole
He's
time.
blushing
What's
the
going
entire
on
time."
here?"
Yeah.
Yes. So the answer there, it was D'Amico Ryans. I had some other funny asides that I don't know if it's appropriate to share for the pod.
Might as well. Once you, this is like once you've thought about it, once you've said it, you gotta put it out there.
Okay, I'm gonna. I'll answer this in the most. Well, should we get to football and come back to this at the end?
No, you've already started.
Okay.
Do we have any breaks in this episode, Marissa?
No.
I hope so.
Okay.
No. Okay. Okay. I'll try to frame this in such a way that won't come off like unseemly in any way. So
This could be good.
So Marissa was asking about or was asked who she would feel like, who she would want to have babysit her kid between the two of us. And the suggestion was essentially like, if she wanted something responsible, she would have me. And if she wanted something fun, she would have Bo. And it brought me back to, God, I hope we don't get in trouble here. Okay. Brought me back to like college, late high school, that kind of thing, when we play a version of Peck Nest Migrate. Okay. And so this could be interpreted either as like self-deprecating or a humble brag. I can assure you this is self-deprecating. Okay. It's certainly not a humble brag, because like when one is 18, 19 years old, sitting down for this game, like you're okay. Anyways, I was, and again, my memory might have a way of like sanitizing this for the sake of the story. I
think I can see where this is going.
I was never migrated. Okay. Which is I suppose a good
Yeah.
thing. Okay. But I was disproportionately nested compared to Peck. And it reminded me of that because like, you know,
This is
it's
an
probably
excellent story, Zach.
it's probably a good thing, like to be, you're the responsible type. So, I would really like to nest you, but you're the fun type. So I would really like to peck you. When you're at a given age, you're thinking more of anyway. So
You want Jennifer Love Hewitt to peck you. She don't want her to nest you.
Yeah. So that
babysitter
story made me think of that.
Zach shows up next week with like a leather jacket and a motorcycle. We're trying to
get
bad boy.
The question about what job I would want on the set or in the ecosystem. Bo Bo picked sideline reporter because of the, I would want to ask that first question. I don't really feel you get a lot of meaningful questions in that situation. Also, I think from like a height perspective, it could it could be tough from the camera lens.
Yeah, but that's not something to worry about.
Yeah. I would want to have this sit down. The Tom Rinaldi the Rinaldi feature. Yeah. To go deep into the hometown, into the back, the tearjerker type story. I would love that. Yeah, exactly.
That's a good one.
So I would like that role. I would like any of those roles. I mean, it'd be a good way to challenge yourself. I would challenge myself as a play-by-play guy. I would challenge myself as a studio host. I would challenge myself Wriggle. As a game analyst. I don't know if I would want the Wriggle thing. I'm not funny in that. I think
that's not true. You came into the press conference yesterday with nothing but jokes.
He's refreshed.
You were just rattling off material.
I don't know, rattling off material. No, I think I could be like situationally funny, but the Wriggle thing, you have to come armed. You have to have the jokes ready. So I don't have that. But no, and then Sheil wanted me to point out that Bo compared playing with illness to Marissa being 33
100% sincerely.
Yeah. I just shout out to Sheil there. I felt it was important to do that.
Yeah,
but
speaking of Sheil, he's off gallivanting the world right now too.
Big business trip.
Yeah, what the heck is this?
Well, his company's owned and operated in Sweden.
Yeah, very cool.
Head honchos want to get a close up look at Dr. Kapadia.
I hope he's listening to this.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
So, anyways, those are my notes. I thought we would wait till the end of the pod for that and talk more Eagles, but alas, we did it here.
Alas. Allah Abdel Nabi.
Okay, now the notes about your trip.
Well, I think we all want to hear about Bo's trip.
Yes, I do want to hear about Bo's trip too.
Yeah.
Well, here's the difference between my trip and Zach's trip. When Zach is on vacation, Marissa and I make sure to not bother him and not include him in like discussions about the show. Like, let him have his time away. Don't bother him with Eagle stuff. When I'm on vacation, Zach is texting me asking what time we're going to do the pod this week. He's telling me about like national reporters who are working on tangentially related Eagles stories. Well, like, I'm just trying to be unplugged. Like, it's okay. It's okay to take a couple days off.
I don't like you don't send and receive texts when you're on vacation. I was out of the country and I was texting nonstop. Like I don't buy that. You're playing golf. I don't know what it's like on the golf course, but I don't need to know every little thing about the Eagles beat when I'm away. Okay.
I think that's why you two work so well together. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to apologize for when I was away. I was following along. I listened to your pod. I read Eagles content every day. I watched the press conferences. Like there's nothing wrong with that. From my view, you didn't have to respond. I don't think it's a problem to share, but people do want to hear about your vacation.
I think it's a version of the elevator conversation where you presume that other people want it like you want it.
Oh, I don't think that. Here, I won't text you, Bo. I'm sorry. We'll keep it the business hours, okay? Okay.
I'm just saying, like, from a workers' rights perspective, when you're on PTO, like,
from a workers' rights perspective, we shouldn't do 4 a.m. pods, right? From a workers' rights perspective,
you're working.
Shots fired.
I mean, I'm up at 6 a.m. and I finished the pod at 4 a.m. That's not. We do that based on your schedule, not mine, right? So from a workers' rights perspective, like,
well, yeah, but you're only up at 6 a.m. for a side deal that you have.
Okay, let's get along now. All right. You guys weren't together for a little bit of time, maybe a little salty. You each went on separate vacations, but we're back. So let's be friends again.
Where would we vacation together?
Good question.
What would hit both of us?
A college football game, right? Like a Wake
good one.
Forest, Wake Forest Syracuse game.
Oh, that's good.
How'd you shoot?
I played okay. I had a good time. Went out to Bandon Dunes with
Where's that?
with some buddies. That's in Oregon.
Very cool.
Had a great time.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Zach, where'd you
The
go?
body is feeling it. I am an old man.
But
Lower back and the calves and the hamstrings. Still
Do you walk the course or
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So that's why. Okay.
Played like something like 137 holes in 7
Wow.
days or in 4 days, something like that.
Wow.
And then
How's
your
the
boy won
weather?
the U.S. Open. Yeah.
Why would he be my boy? I mean, I don't have like a super strong Brooks Koepka opinion. I don't really get why he's my boy.
I thought you were a Koepka fan. I'm sorry. Okay.
I don't get what's the joke there? I don't get it.
There's no joke. I thought you were a Koepka fan.
Why?
Yeah. You just struck me as a Koepka fan. You're both like
Ripped?
you're both okay. Fill in the blank there. Ripped.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marissa, what did you ask? How the
I
weather
asked
was?
how was the weather?
Yeah, you still haven't said where you went. The weather was
No,
like
I was asking Bo that.
60s and rainy and
Oh.
windy. It was like exactly what you would expect right on the Pacific coast.
Hmm.
It was good. Good golf. weather.
What's the Blazers sentiment out there?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Okay. You didn't talk Blazers with
You know
anyone
what? Didn't
there?
talk Blazers 4.5 hours outside Portland.
Oh, is that how far? Okay.
Yeah.
It's the state's team, right?
Sorry to say. Where were you, Zach? Asia?
I was in Israel. I
Oh.
was on a mission trip in Israel. I was with a big group. I had a great time, met interesting people, did fascinating things, and was excited to come home and get back to work.
Did you relax at all?
Well, it wasn't like a sit on the beach type trip. Like I had an itinerary.
But did you unplug at all?
I had an itinerary like each day from, I mean, I'm not exaggerating here. I could even send it to you from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. But it was great. Like I learned so much, and
So it was your kind of vacation.
yeah, like I filled my notes app on my phone with like just thoughts and details and things like that. And it gave me, I went a big group and I met interesting people. And it was, I was happy I did it.
Okay.
Well,
I bet
I'm
it
glad you
now
guys
back.
both had fun on your respective vacations, but we need
Thank
to
you.
get along now that we're back together.
Oh, I'm
We're
getting,
always getting
yeah,
along.
we're always getting along.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And Marissa, what's going on with you?
Nothing. I didn't go anywhere cool, so I like hearing about your guys' trips. I didn't get to see any pictures from Bo's trip. Thankfully, Emily posted lots of pictures, so I was able to see what Zach was doing. But
Yeah, she's not shy.
maybe we got to work on your Instagram game, Bo. Maybe add to your stories.
I mean, who needs to see?
I did see
pictures
a
of a golf
picture.
course?
I did see a picture of you one day on Rachel's story that it was in the backyard playing with the kids, which was cute.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm happy you guys had a good time. You both deserved a little time off because it's been a long year. That's for sure.
What was your game of choice in the backyard? What were you doing? Were you playing tag? Were you?
No, we were
Running
just
around?
playing t-ball, hitting.
Oh, okay.
Jane and I, yeah.
How's Jane swing?
And then Bo was hitting
Pretty
on
good.
his own.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
beautiful swing at a bow. I mean, still got it, no doubt about that.
Who do you think is going to be the best athlete of your kids? Both of you.
Oh, Jane for sure.
Casey.
It's not even
Oh.
close.
Really?
Oh, between my two kids, yeah, it's definitely Jane.
I thought of all our kids. Okay.
I can't speak for Zach's kids.
Yeah, my kids. I mean, Sloane's uninterested in sports. I can
Oh.
tell you that right now. So
She's still young though. She might,
yeah, no, I signed her up for stuff, and she's not. So Reed, I signed him up for every sport, and he plays it. So I would say Reed by process of elimination.
Okay.
Reed and Jane can be the,
Yeah, there
be
you
the
go.
next. Yeah. Like it.
All right.
All right,
Let's get to the
football.
Eagles portion
Yes.
of the show. Let's get to the flock trial. Now, here's the deal. Zach and I will both be serving as the hype man, the defense for two of these players or people or organizations, and the hater for the other two, the prosecution, if you will. I don't know how we're going to decide this. I think Marissa could be the judge. I think the chat could be the judge, but we'll let it play out, and we'll have these conversations about four relatively polarizing figures as we head into the 2023 season. Zach, should the prosecution should go first, right? And then the defense goes second. Is that the
Sure.
general order of business?
Yeah, sure.
And we'll start with Nakobe Dean.
Okay. Fire away.
That's what it said on the rundown. We sent a rundown this week, so that's good.
We did. Yeah. I didn't know if the order of the players was the order in which we were going.
It doesn't have to be. Would you like to start with somebody else?
No, Nakobe. I think Nakobe's a much discussed guy, and I think he's someone who, I had a mailbag, and one of the questions was breakout players on the Eagles, and I mentioned Nakobe Dean, and our hardworking editor Josiah put him as the picture on the mailbag. So yeah, let's talk Nakobe Dean.
Let's talk Nakobe Dean. All right. The question posed to the court today is not about whether young Mr. Dean will serve as one of the Eagles' 2 starting linebackers this season. We know that will be the case. And that was preordained when the team selected him in the 3rd round a year ago. Rather, the question is whether Mr. Dean will be an impact player at the position or even serve as an upgrade on either TJ Edwards or Kaiser White. Given that the team decided Dean was a worse player than Edwards and White last season, this obviously requires a leap of faith. I would say that Dean's lack of playing time last season, he just played 37 defensive snaps in total over the course of the regular season, were not just a bad omen about the team's evaluation of him, but they also served as poor preparation for his new role. At a position where instincts matter so much, Dean still has no real bank of professional reps from which to draw. He will essentially be a rookie again in 2023. So even if you are bullish on Nakobe Dean long-term, it would be foolish to think he won't need a lot of seasoning before turning into something resembling what his full potential is. Given the quality of their offense and the organizational valuation of the linebacker position, the Eagles can afford to be patient with Nakobe Dean, but expecting him to be an impact player right away would border on delusion. One final note to close. It was hard to watch Dean's cameos on defense last season and not think, guy looks a little small. At 5'11", 231, Dean is, in fact, quite undersized. Of the top 40 tacklers in the NFL last season, only one is as small as Nakobe Dean. That's Quincy Williams, who was 5'11", 225. If you expand that to the top 100 tacklers in the NFL, only 3 more linebackers qualify: David Long, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Devin Bush. Don't let his pedigree fool you. Dean is an outlier, and expecting him to be an impact player right away is not a good bet.
So I didn't write these down. I thought we were going to have a conversation. That was very well written, well performed. My pushback here is that at linebacker in particular, okay, I think the pedigree does matter. If you're looking for traits and the height, weight, speed, start Davion Taylor. How did that go? Right? You also
a third round pick if you're talking pedigree, to be fair.
I'm talking about pedigree as a player. You said that you also said in there that by virtue of the Eagles drafting Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, they basically made him a starter. That's not the case. They drafted Davion Taylor in the 3rd round, didn't make him a starter because they saw after a year he wasn't ready to be a starter. Nakobe Dean, I think, first off, the Eagles were remarkably healthy at linebacker last season. That is why he did not get on the field over Kaiser White and TJ Edwards, both of whom had more experience. TJ Edwards is an example of someone who does not have the traits but has the instincts, and how the instincts can overtake that. When I talk about pedigree as a player, I'm talking about someone not just with draft pedigree, with performance pedigree. Performance pedigree meaning he was a unanimous first-team All-American, unanimous. at Georgia, where he was the nation's top linebacker on the best defense in college football and one of the best defenses in college football history. He was the Butkus Award winner. If you want to know previous Butkus Award winners in the past decade, that includes Luke Kuechly, that includes C.J. Mosley, that includes Roquan Smith, that includes Devin White. Okay, so you're talking about good company on that list there. Nakobe Dean, who had 72 tackles during his final year at Georgia, who had 6 sacks, who had 2 interceptions, who had 8 pass breakups. Okay, I care more about traits when it comes to defensive tackle, when it comes to edge rusher. I care more about instincts when it comes to linebacker, and I think he has those instincts intact. I think the fact that the Eagles did not make moves at that position this offseason is evidence of their confidence in Nakobe Dean, not just because of where they drafted him, but because of the player that he was. This is an alpha personality. This is someone who Dan Lanning called a coach on the field, literally, when he was at Georgia. He missed time during the spring practices that year and had the script in hand instructing the defense. There's clips you can watch of him telling first round picks where to go, where to line up. He knows what to do there. He's what you look for in that position. I would have confidence in Nakobe Dean. If your argument is that he's not particularly tall or not particularly fast, I would say tune in this year to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, where you can hear Zach Thomas speak and give a speech about how he was not particularly tall, was not particularly fast. He was 5'11", 235. He was drafted in the 5th round, I believe, and he goes on to become a Hall of Famer. So I'm not saying Nakobe Dean is going to be a Hall of Famer, but if you're hanging your hat on the fact that he does not have elite traits and that he did not get on the field over 2 guys who stayed healthy, 2 experienced players who were paid more money, who were healthy throughout the year, then I would say go back and watch the way he played at Georgia in 2021, and that will give you the confidence that you need.
If it please the court, I'd like to add the fuller evidence submitted by Mr. Berman. Other Butkus Award winners of recent vintage include Isaiah Simmons, Reuben Foster, Jalen Smith, and Manti Te'o. So that's not necessarily a guarantee of any future success. And I think as to the point about the Eagles' moves or relative lack of moves at the position this offseason, signaling their confidence in Nakobe Dean, they didn't have a lot of options. They had money to spend elsewhere. They didn't have a lot of money to spend on the position. It is the position they care about the least when building the roster. So it is no surprise that they are willing to give Nakobe Dean a shot at one of those 2 positions. And again, I don't think that this necessarily means that Nakobe Dean is going to be a bad player. My argument is that expecting him to hit the ground running is probably not very smart. I think it's going to take some time for him. The instincts that you talk about from his time at Georgia, it's going to be some time before he builds up that bank of reps that he needs. The history of rookie linebackers like being impact players is not very good. It's going to take some time. It is a long-term play for the Eagles. It is not a short-term high expectation.
Proof will be in the pudding.
Okay.
I feel strongly about my argument here. I should have prepared. I prepared talking points. I didn't write a script.
It looks like the chat is agreeing with Zach, but they do think that Bo's argument was better.
The chat wants the guy to be good because they're Eagles fans.
Yes,
that's fine.
But they did say that they liked what Bo had prepared.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
But Zach wins that one.
Okay.
Pretty unanimously.
All right. Next on the docket before the court, the case of Cam Jurgens.
Bo, Marissa, and me have something in common with Cam Jurgens. Do you know what that is? Well, we have a lot
What
in
is
common
that,
with Cam
Zach?
Jurgens, but one thing in particular.
We're all white.
I don't know why you make everything about race, Bo. We've all started the same amount of games. We've all played the same amount of games at guard as Cam Jurgens. Okay, Cam Jurgens has never started a game at offensive guard. If he did not play offensive guard until last season when he did it in spot duty in practices. Okay, Cam Jurgens he was a tight end in college. In high school, who played center at Nebraska. Center and guard are not the same positions. I'm sure there's someone in Marissa's house who can attest to that. One can become converted to it, but you cannot simply say just because you're a good prospect at center, you're going to be a good prospect at guard. I go back to the 2017 season when the Eagles cleared the deck before the season to have Isaac Seumalo as their starting guard. And then they saw Isaac Seumalo play in games. And they said, not so fast. Let's go with a rotation here between Chance Warmack and Stefan Wisniewski because we don't have Isaac Seumalo is not ready for showtime here. Isaac Seumalo was drafted in the third round, high third round pick, very similar to Cam Jurgens, who was like a mid second round pick for the Eagles. Isaac Seumalo was a center during his final year at Oregon State, but played multiple positions and had more experience at other spots than Cam Jurgens did. And it took him time to learn how to play offensive guard. I think Jeff Stoutland is a terrific coach, but just because Jeff Stoutland drafts a center doesn't mean he can put him anywhere and get the production that he needs to have the solution at that position. And the fact that the Eagles drafted a guard in the top of the third round, a tackle who's moving the guard, who they're playing at guard.
Objection, Your Honor. Tyler Steen has also never started a game at guard in his career.
Unless you consider the Senior Bowl, right? But that is a game that he started at guard, I believe. But I do hear your point. He did practice at guard day one, whereas Cam Jurgens did not. I think that Cam Jurgens has a lot of athleticism and he has a lot of upside, but it is presumptuous to think that just because the Eagles drafted him at center to be Jason Kelce's replacement and Jason Kelce continued playing, that you can just go into the Madden profile and switch C to G and think that the rating is going to be the same. It doesn't necessarily work like that.
Just to clarify, is your argument that Cam Jurgens will not be the starting right guard or that he won't be good as the starting right guard?
Oh, no, my argument is that we're not I thought we were doing hype man versus I didn't think I was hype man
just
versus
asking.
Yeah. No, my argument is that we can't be convinced that he's the solution. He has to prove it. Okay. This is not the type of thing. I don't think Nakobe Dean needs to prove that he's the linebacker. I think Nakobe Dean, unless Nakobe Dean gets a major injury, Nakobe Dean is the starting linebacker. I think Cam Jurgens needs to win the guard spot because there is projection there, and it's not just a foregone conclusion that he's going to be the guy. I see Jason Kelce. I see MJ saying in the chat, Kelce believes Cam could have started and played well last year. Matter of fact, if you go and you listen to Jason Kelce's quotes, he said he could have started and played center last year. Okay. And then he added on that he can be a good guard, but he was talking specifically about center. And when Jason Kelce, matter of fact, was talking about Cam Jurgens' long-term potential in this league, he was talking about him at center. He said Cam Jurgens is going to be one of the best centers in the league. It was not about guard. The idea of playing Cam Jurgens at guard is because he was a second-round pick and Jason Kelce's still playing and they need someone to play. It's not because they say – it's not like a Landon Dickerson situation where they say this guy can play all over the line. They're looking to get the player on the field. They're looking to fit the peg in the hole as opposed to the other way around. Well, you can't really fit a hole in a peg, but you know what I mean, as opposed to finding the perfect fit here.
Your Honor, I know that you have no patience for frivolous lawsuits and your time is precious, so I will try to keep this brief. With regards to Cam Jurgens' prospects for 2023, I ask one simple question. Do you trust Jeff Stoutland? I feel like that's all we need to say. Now, to expand just a little bit, before the draft, Howie Roseman essentially declared Jurgens as the starting right guard.
Yes.
He went along the line. He said Cam Jurgens will be their right guard. So like Steen all you want, but that lack of couching is unusual at that stage of the offseason for Howie Roseman. I would think you can read between the lines that Jeff Stoutland, who has so much power in that offensive line room, is preparing for Cam Jurgens to be the starting right guard. And if the guy is good enough for Howie, and if he's good enough for Stoutland, and if he's good enough for Jason Kelce, he's darn sure good enough for me. So while the focus seems to be on whether Jurgens can replicate what the Eagles got out of Isaac Seumalo last season, I wonder if the question should be about whether he can serve as an improvement. Jurgens' athletic tools offer a creative weapon for the coaching staff to deploy in the league's most versatile running game. It's not just Kelce who can scream downfield in search of an open field block. Imagine both Jurgens and Lane Johnson pulling across the formation to the left side, or DeAndre Swift following Cam Jurgens in a screen on his way downfield. I don't think that we need to overthink this. He gets to play between Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. He has the physical tools that made him a second-round pick, and he has the backing of the best offensive line coach in the NFL. Cam Jurgens will be just fine.
What do your prototypes tell you about the size, the weight of elite guards?
I would have to go look at that, but that is for Pro Bowl guards. No one's expecting Cam Jurgens to be a Pro Bowler right away. And I think his Pro Bowl upside probably is at center. I think that is a fair concession to make. But in service of getting him on the field, I think this makes plenty of sense.
Reasonable enough.
Okay. Do we declare a winner in this one, or do we just move on to Jordan Davis?
The chat is still weighing in, so this verdict will be delayed. We can hear the next case and report back.
Okay,
if that works with you guys.
I feel like
early signs are that Bo is taking this round.
My guess is that in all these situations, the defense will win because Eagles fans want the guy. And by the way, we split this up just for the sake of conversation. I think Cam Jurgens is going to be the starting guard, and I think he's going to be fine there.
This is performative. That's okay.
Yeah, it looks like Bo, you are the winner of the Cam Jurgens case.
Okay. I think Bo's going to win all four of these, by the way, because I did not write up.
No, you won the first one, Zach.
No, but in terms of the argument, I feel embarrassed. I did not write a script here. So
I feel like this one's the main event.
Okay. Buckle up.
By all accounts, Jordan Davis seems like a fine young man. In our estimation, he's not the one on trial here. After all, he's not the one who traded up to select him 13th overall in last year's draft. As a rookie, Mr. Davis played 13 regular season games, starting 5. He played 217 snaps, 196 of those, or 90%, on first and second down. At the time, he suffered a high ankle sprain in week 8 of the regular season. The Eagles' run defense ranked 24th in DVOA. From the time 34-year-old Linval Joseph took over Davis's role as the primary nose tackle, the team improved to 15th in run defense. Meanwhile, in Davis's 107 pass rush snaps, he failed to register a single quarterback hit. So we can fairly say that his rookie season was a disappointment. I don't think that is an argument. Now, Mr. Berman will probably tell you that defensive tackles, as much as perhaps any position, take time to develop. To some degree, that is true. And just like we were told that Mr. Davis's otherworldly athletic tools made him a premium prospect in the draft, despite his lack of production, we're being told now to remain patient. If it please the court, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, which is the list of defensive linemen since 2010 who rushed the quarterback at least 100 times as a rookie and failed to record a single quarterback hit. Here we go. Quinton Bohanna, PJ Hall, Justin Ellis, Will Sutton, John Jenkins, Devon Godshaw, David Onyemata, Danny Shelton, Eddie Vanderdoes, Derek Noddy, Deadrin Sanat, Trayvon Hester, Shamar Stephen, Carlos Watkins, Harrison Phillips, Ryan Glasgow, Devontae Lambert, Darius Latham, Nathan Shepard, Jordan Elliott, Avery Moss, Randy Gregory, Tenzel Smart, Malachi Goodman, Tenny Palapoy, DeMarcus Lawrence, DeJuan Smoot, Ed Stinson, Tyler Lancaster, Eli Harold, Poona Ford, Dante Poe, Grover Stewart, Quinton Bohanna, I already said, Carl Davis, and DeMontre Moore. Exhibit B, the list of rookie defensive tackles since 2010 who had exactly one quarterback hit, according to True Media's Pro Football Focus, in their 100-plus pass rush snaps. Akeem Spence, David Perry, Bobby Richardson, Dalvin Tomlinson, Romeo Okwara, Raekwon Davis, Henry Anderson, Rodney Gunter, Corey Peters, Doug Costin, Billy Wynn, Jeremiah Ledbetter, DJ Reader, Taylor Stallworth, Justin Jones, Levi Onwuzurike, Taquan Graham, Jonathan Bullard, Kalen Sanders, Teron Jackson, Stacey McGee, Vincent Valentine, Isaiah Loudermilk, Taven Bryan, Grady Jarrett, Tadaro Slayton, Larry Ogunjobi, Andre Branch, Jordan Willis, Marcus Hunt, Dorrance Armstrong, Michael Bennett, the other one, Austin Johnson, Rasheem Green, Bo Allen, Jonathan Allen, David Irving, TJ Fatanikun, and Anthony Zettel. Now, there's some disparity in the Pro Football Focus hits versus the official quarterback hits. For instance, Jonathan Allen registered 6 official quarterback hits, according to the NFL's official statisticians. Same for Randy Gregory, and Grady Jarrett actually had 2. So you will notice a few cases of a few of those players turning into difference-making defensive tackles. But to me, the most clear comparison is Danny Shelton, who was the 12th overall pick in 2015. Mr. Shelton carved out a solid career and is still in the league today. But as a pure nose tackle, he has 6 sacks in 8 seasons and has never signed a more lucrative contract than a guaranteed $4 million. He's a fine player, but an underwhelming return on the resource that was used to acquire him. 1 year into his career, that to me looks like the path for Jordan Davis, career role player.
Are you resting your case? Or shall I proceed?
I'm done for now, yeah.
Okay. Who were the all-pro defensive tackles last year, out of curiosity? The answer is Quinnen Williams and Chris Jones. Let's talk about Quinnen Williams for a second, okay? Quinnen Williams, who was the number 3 overall pick in the 2019 draft. I'm going to ask you a little question here. Who had a better pressure rate as a rookie, Quinnen Williams or Jordan Davis?
Objection, Your Honor. Pressure rate is not a reliable stat. Pressures are very subjective.
I asked you a question here. Who had a better pressure rate as a rookie?
I object. I don't answer that question.
Okay. I mean, I would say statistics in general, they're like bikinis, right? What they show is revealing and what they conceal is vital. But let's just proceed here, just for the sake of conversation. Quinnen Williams, who in 2019 they were up in arms in New York. What did we just draft number 3 overall? Quinnen Williams he played, let me pull my numbers up here. He played 490 defensive snaps that year, 4 times as many as Jordan Davis did this year, or thereabouts. He had 2.5 sacks. He had a 5.7% pressure rate. Jordan Davis this year played 217 snaps, had a 7.5% pressure rate. Okay, he had 8 pressures, 8 hurries, according to our friends at Pro Football Focus. Quinnen Williams,
they're not my friends.
Quinnen Williams, if you're not following right now, is, I don't want to say he's in a holdout situation, but he's kind of waiting for his next contract, which very well might make him the highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL. And it'll be deservedly so. Sometimes this takes patience. Chris Jones, by the way, who we all saw in the Super Bowl, pretty outstanding player. When he was a rookie, in Kansas City. He played 548 defensive snaps. He had 2 sacks that year. He was credited with 2 quarterback hits. It takes time at that position. Jordan Davis, you keep pointing to the example of Linval Joseph. Linval Joseph is not Marlon Tuipulotu. Linval Joseph is someone who is a 2-time Pro Bowler who was signed specifically for that role when Jordan Davis was injured. If Linval Joseph was sitting on the bench, why do you even have Linval Joseph on your roster? Jordan Davis takes I would say, for all you film heads here, go back and watch that Steelers game. Go back and watch it before Jordan Davis got injured. Go back and see the way the Eagles were using him in that game. See the way he was progressing to that point in the season. See the promise that he showed against the Steelers. And that was coming before the ankle injury. And then think back to the way he played at Georgia. Think back to the fact that this was someone who was named the top defensive player in all of college football, despite statistics that some lawyers would point to as the eye-popping statistics here, but they say just watch the film, watch the way he impacts games, watch the way he commands double teams, watch the way Jalen Carter plays next to him because of the way of the attention that Jordan Davis commands. Jordan Davis has a historical athletic profile. I said that the athletic traits don't matter to me as much at linebacker, and instincts matter more. I would go the opposite end on defensive line. I think traits matter more on defensive line. When you're that close to the ball, if you're bigger, you're stronger, and you're faster, you're often going to beat the guy in front of you. And Jordan Davis is going to be bigger and stronger and faster. He's going to command. He'll have 4 hands on him most plays, and he has playing next to him here. He'll have Jalen Carter. He'll have Fletcher Cox. He'll have Milton Williams. I think you will see in their production the value of having Jordan Davis on the field. So we can keep pointing to statistics, and I would say be patient with those statistics, but I would say go back and watch that Steelers game for an indication of what's to come in Philadelphia this year.
So what constitutes success for Jordan Davis in your mind?
What constitutes success? I would say wins and losses. I would say production of the team. But let's, for the sake of this conversation, I think that if we look at A, we can see anecdotally, but B, I think you'll see those statistics improve. I mentioned the Quinnen Williams example. Quinnen Williams went from 5.7% pressure rate to 11.1% pressure rate in his second season when he had 7 sacks. Last season, he was at 12 sacks and 12.9% pressure rate. Jordan Davis, as I said last year, was at a 7.5% pressure rate. He only played 15 third downs during the season. He had a 20% pressure rate on those third downs. He wasn't really asked to pass rush that often. But I think if we're going to see him now, the Eagles, I can pull my numbers up. It's realistic to expect him to play 600 snaps this year, and I think you'll see more production with him over those 600 snaps.
The argument that I'm hearing is the importance of having a nose tackle, not that Jordan Davis himself is going to be an impact player. It's all about the double teams he's going to command to open things up for other people, and that's fine. But you don't need to use the 13th overall pick or trade up for it to get a guy who's just playing the position, who you could get on the street midway through the season, like they were able to get with Linval Joseph. When he was drafted, the question posed to Howie Roseman was, do you see pass rush upside here? And he basically said, if he doesn't have that, the pick will not be good. Like, that is what we are betting on. And so if that doesn't come, it is not a good pick. Now, maybe it comes, but it has never, ever been shown.
As I say in conversations with my wife, please don't conflate implication with inference. Okay, you're inferring that's my argument. That's not what I implied. I was actually referring to the developmental timeline of defensive tackles. I was pointing to the All-Pro tackles last year. The guy who's on the verge of being paid the top among defensive tackles in the NFL. The other All-Pro tackle who had underwhelming pass rush production as a rookie as well. I think it's going to take some time.
Quinnen
to
Williams,
develop.
who you mentioned, I'm
Mhm.
sorry to interrupt, played 2 seasons at Alabama, and as a sophomore, he had 8 sacks. To compare him and his track record to Jordan Davis's is incredibly misleading.
Wait, repeat that. What's misleading
He
about
had
that?
8 sacks as a sophomore in college. Jordan
Okay.
Davis played 4 years in college and didn't have that many over the course of his career.
Oh, so now all of a sudden college stats matter? With Nakobe Dean, they were inapplicable, I thought.
No one ever
yeah.
talked about his college stats. I never talked about his college stats.
Jordan Davis was a unanimous first-team All-American as a senior. He was the Benerick Award winner. Okay, he was the Outland Trophy winner. He was, and this is quoting Nick Saban. He's about as good a player as I've seen for a long time as an inside player on any team. Nick Saban's seen quite a few inside players, including Quinnen Williams.
I have one final question.
Yes.
Is it Jordan Davis or is it Davis Jordan?
It is Jordan Davis. It is Jordan Davis, yes.
All right.
The sickos in the chat have ruled that ZB ran away with this one. You are
Of course they do. They want Jordan Davis to be good.
Well, we'll see. We'll see the next one.
This is the only one where I think they may not be in favor of the defense, but that's okay.
Okay. So bring the arguments. Let's
Go
hear
ahead,
it.
Zach.
All right, we'll present the case.
Okay. This is about the new coaching staff, that the new coaching staff is better than last season. And when we say better, it's hard to qualify this, right? What's attributable to the coaching staff, what's attributable to the players. But this is what I'm going to point to here. The Eagles were a historic team last year. They were number 3 in DVOA. They were number 4 in third downs. Okay, I'm sorry, on offense, they were number 3 in DVOA, number 4 in third down percentage at 45.9%, and it was the best in franchise history. Number 3 in red zone, 67.8%, best in franchise history. 477 points, 57 scrimmage touchdowns, all records. On defense, they were number 6 in DVOA. They were number 14 in third down. They were number 11 in red zone, 70 sacks, third most in NFL history. Okay, I point this out as a way of saying one of my favorite shows is The West Wing, and there's a scene in The West Wing where President Bartlett is talking to a therapist, and the therapist says, "What was that room I just passed?" And it was the Lincoln bedroom, and he said, "You know, that's a tough curve to be graded on. This guy ended slavery. What's next, right?" I bring that up. I bring that example because this is a tough curve to be graded on. What Brian Johnson needs to do to be better, is he needs to be better than the number 3 offense in DVOA last year. He needs to be better than franchise records on third down, franchise records on red zone, franchise records in points. Well, that's a tough curve. That's a tough curve to be graded on. He benefited from. He might not benefit from the same type of injury luck that the Eagles had a year ago. Sean Desai is dealing with a situation here where they had historic sack production last year. Okay, they had the best pass defense in the NFL last year. He needs to replace two starters at safety, 2 starters at linebacker. He needs to replace a Pro Bowl defensive tackle. When you're talking about the coaching staff being better, how are we measuring that? The way they're going to be better is a top 2 offense, is a top 5 defense. That's the threshold that they're dealing with there. So I think they have smart people on this coaching staff. I think Brian Johnson has demonstrated experience at Florida, even though that's in college, and now he needs to go to the NFL here. Sean Desai has a year with the Bears and worked under Vic Fangio, and I think the experience in Seattle is beneficial. But the team last year was so good. By the way, I want to take that back. I wasn't comparing slavery to what the Eagles are doing. I was comparing the scene in The West Wing where he's talking about the Lincoln bedroom and how The presidents are judged on this Abraham Lincoln curve. I just want to make that clear. It's a powerful scene from the West Wing. By no means am I conflating those two things. But point being that in order for this coaching staff to be considered better than last year's coaching staff, you need to have a top 2 offense and a top 5 defense. And that's going to be awfully hard to do.
All right. Well, I will not be so bold as to compare the NFC Championship to slavery, but I hope you will join with me.
I was not comparing it. I was.
You've had your time.
I was citing.
You've had your time.
I was citing a scene in the West Wing.
You've had your time. We've heard tales before about the difficulty of replenishing a coaching staff. To be sure, there are no guarantees when it comes to the kind of turnover foisted upon Nick Sirianni when both his coordinators, lawfully or unlawfully, left to become head coaches elsewhere. The good news is Mr. Sirianni, in conjunction with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, appears to have avoided some common pitfalls in his rebuilding process. Let's start on offense, where the loss of Shane Steichen seems significant. The Eagles finished, as Mr. Berman said, 3rd in offensive DVOA last season, 1 year after finishing 11th. Mr. Berman may have inferred that Shane Steichen's play calling helped unlock the offensive turnaround from the middle of the 2021 season, turning it into the behemoth they were last year. Well, guess whose offense Shane Steichen was calling? If you go into a restaurant and order a delicious meal, who gets the credit? You for ordering the food or the chef for putting together the menu? Let's not be ridiculous. Let's not overstate this. Let anyone who has ever watched a Shane Steichen press conference tell you whether he's a genius or not. So while Sirianni remains at the helm of the offensive design, the ascension of rising star Brian Johnson brings a fresh look to help guard against the complacency that could befall a team while the rest of the league is spending its offseason trying to find solutions. Alex Tanney's promotion to quarterbacks coach is right on time, and the rest of the offensive staff remains intact. And oh, by the way, pretty much the entire offense is here as well. That side of the ball will be just fine. Thank you very much. Now let's talk about defense. If you want to tell me Nick Rallis is a star in the making and DJ Elliott represents a step back at linebacker, I'm willing to hear that argument. The loss of Denard Wilson might look odd from the outside, but DK McDonald is ready to have a room to himself. And the truth is no one wants a coach in the building who doesn't want to be here. In fact, Mr. Wilson's departure is probably a positive sign. Sirianni boasted in the lead up to his hiring process that his preference was to hire from within. But in surveying the landscape, he guarded against his own biases in hiring Sean Desai to replace Jonathan Gannon. I will spare the court the relitigation of Gannon's time in Philadelphia, except to remind everyone that his performance in the most important game of his life would have been no different than if he had ordered the defense to leave the field entirely. Now, in comes Desai, who is not a Vic Fangio pretender like so many others around the league. Here is a smart, versatile coach who apprenticed under Fangio as his right-hand man for 4 seasons. It's one thing to watch a defense on film and try to replicate its identity, and quite another to be there while the thing is being built and to understand the whys for how everything happens. It's the difference between asking ChatGPT to write a song or asking George Harrison to write one. Now, finally, before closing, I'd like to point out the potential secret weapon in the new staff, one that was derided upon its announcement. Mock Matt Patricia's track record all you want. Just remember that no less football mind than Bill Belichick trusted him as his protege, not only on defense, but in rebuilding an offense from scratch in a single offseason. While Patricia's role as senior defensive assistant is a little bit of an unknown from the outside, my understanding from talking to people in the building is that his intelligence has already shown through while he brings a fresh outside perspective to bounce ideas off. This is an organization that had Vic Fangio himself in a similar position last offseason. I think we can trust they know what they're doing. And so if stagnancy is every NFL team's nightmare, Eagles and their fans should be able to sleep well.
Going with Matt Patricia as your closing argument there. That was an interesting twist.
Making the argument.
Also, I'm curious, in the comparison, is it the person who's designing the menu, or the person you said Shane Steichen's the person eating the food? I would argue he's the person making the food. Sirianni's designing the menu, Steichen's making the food. If you have a nice dish at a restaurant.
No, he's ordering off the menu.
No, the chef creates the menu. The line cook makes the menu or makes the food. I think that's more the apt comparison. But
he's the one ordering. He's ordering off the menu. He's ordering the plays.
Gotcha. Okay. And then the players are the line cooks making the plays?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
I think that's in the metaphor. I think that works.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, that was a good argument. You did great. You could be a lawyer, and yeah,
It was fine.
you can do so many different jobs. Well, yeah.
What does that mean?
You continue to outdo yourself.
You did a great job too, Zach.
Excellent job by both of you. But the jury is a little more. This is a little tighter than the previous races, but it looks like Bo's going to take it. But
Right,
closer than
the
others.
The defense wins and goes 4-0 on the Eagles show. I think that's
Well, they
as expected.
Yeah, they dislike Gannon. I heard Bo on Chris Long's podcast the other day. It was actually Arthur. It was Arthur Smith, not sorry.
Good one, Zach.
He was talking about sharing.
You know that gets under my skin.
He was talking about sharing an office with Jonathan Gannon when they were in Tennessee.
That's starting to make sense. That comes together.
He was saying how Gannon is like a true Renaissance man in that he only has 3 interests: football, weightlifting, and Italian fashion. And it was like, and Chris Long was like, "Wait, what? Italian fashion?" He's like, "Yeah, you heard me right. Italian fashion."
Golf.
Yeah,
Is he a big golfer?
Yeah, he is.
I did just see on Twitter that Howie Roseman was walking into the RV with Chris Long. So
nice.
So
nice.
I expect that podcast to drop soon.
I look forward. Chris is a good podcaster.
He is.
He does a good job. That was a fun game. I thought we were just gonna do hype man and like the hype man hater thing. Your scripts were awesome.
I mean,
yeah,
they weren't George Harrison.
Yeah, that was an interesting way to go. The George Harrison one. Are you anti-ChatGPT?
I'm anti-ChatGPT being expected to like be used as a real thing, not just a like a fun parlor game.
Well, they can't replace the power rankings. We know that. I mean,
I think my honest expectations for the coaching staff are like I do think that I have more faith that the defense will have more answers than they did last season. Their ratings might not be the same, but I do have more faith that they will be trying stuff, and I think I do feel that way, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm just not worried about the offense.
Yeah. I don't think Eagles fans took for granted this, but they were so good last year, right? Yeah. They were so good, and it's hard to, as you know, I saw Greg Bishop had a good piece last week. Where he spoke to Jeffrey Lord, he spoke to Howie Roseman, and he was talking about why the Eagles are Super Bowl favorites this year. But so much went right for them last year. And look, they earned it. But even Howie said they can't rely on the same type of injury luck. And they were just an absolute juggernaut. When you look at those stats, like records across the board, it is so hard to maintain that level of pace. I'm not saying they're going to regress to like an 8-9 win team, but man, I probably should not have used that West Wing analogy, but it's a really tough. It's a really.
I feel
tough
like you could have picked like any other West Wing reference. Like just,
it
really had to zero in on slavery.
It's a really tough curve to be graded on. So that's what I meant. Last year they were just so ridiculously good.
All right, I guess that's all we got.
That was excellent. You guys both did very well. I like that game.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a good game.
What else is going on? What do you got going on this weekend, Zach? Reading Eagle stories.
Yeah, got some work that I'm doing, and I have some family time in there. It's my anniversary on Monday.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Happy
Thank you.
verse. What are you
Yes,
What are you doing? Does Emily know? Will
7
this
years.
spoil it?
We're going to dinner. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 years. Been great.
Nice.
Been best 7 years of my life.
Aw.
And
Make sure you get the card, Zach.
that's
No stationery.
I don't know
Make
if
a
we
mental
discussed this.
note right
I don't know if
now.
we discussed this on the pod. I'm
Oh,
curious.
well, now it's on the
Okay.
pod.
Now it's on the pod. If you're writing a card to someone, what matters more? The message that you write or the actual card that it's on? I'm of the opinion, like when I get a card from somebody, okay, I read what's written. And I'm always, when you just see like, you know,
Why can't Porque no los dos? Why can't you get a nice card and write something nice?
Agreed. That would be my
Okay.
answer.
fair enough. But
She's
to
read
me,
enough of your words over the course
Yeah.
of her lifetime.
I write like she can tell you, I write like 3 paragraph notes on
That's really
Valentine's
nice.
Day, on anniversary, on birthdays, on Mother's Day, right? I don't pay much attention to the card. It's to me, it's the message, it's the words, it's the syntax.
But I
right?
also spend a lot of time picking out the card. Like when I go to Walgreens or CVS, I
Yeah.
will spend 30 minutes in that aisle reading the cards and picking the perfect cards. So it's not like it's just like random,
Yeah.
a random thing for me to put my message in. So I think both matter.
Yeah, even when I pick out the card, sometimes she'll refer to the fact that I get it from like the 99-cent
Oh,
rack, where it's just like
oh,
yeah,
Zach.
it's just like the heart. Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
why you
Zach. I do
Dollar-
hate
it's got a
spending.
dollar store stamp on the back of it.
No, it's literally just say 99. Like she could turn it around and see the 99-cent thing. But I'll have a 4
I mean,
Cards
that's
are
okay.
overpriced. I will say
Yeah.
that it's crazy. I just spent like $8 on a card for something recently that I was just like, oh my god, I can't believe this is $8. But Mother's Day, I think it was for my mom. But it was a good
Yeah.
card, so I was like, whatever. But
How
yeah,
did Michael do on the Mother's Day card?
he did
well,
good. Yeah, he.
Okay.
But I have a whole Father's Day thing planned out already,
Gotcha.
and I'm
Mm.
texted him last night. Like not for nothing, but I think I'm like crushing you so far in this whole Mother's Day, Father's Day thing. I know it's not like official yet, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got him some really, really cute stuff. I won't say. I mean, I doubt he's gonna listen, but yeah. So anyway, you better get a good card for Emily. Bottom
I will,
line.
yeah. Yeah. So our
Happy anniversary.
thank you. Our anniversary is Monday, and then but yeah, that's what I got going on. What about you?
I'm celebrating your anniversary.
No.
We're gonna be just shadowing you at dinner, just taking.
What do you got
pictures.
Memorial Day? Yeah.
Nothing interesting.
I would pay so much money if Bo just showed up at Zach and Emily's anniversary dinner.
That would be interesting for sure. He knows where I'm going too, so that.
Ooh.
Yeah, don't do that.
I forgot where you're going, but yes, now I remember. Yeah.
Don't do that.
You golfing? You having a Memorial Day barbecue?
I mean, we don't have any plans.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not golfing. My clubs are still in transit.
Gotcha. How about you, Marissa?
We're going down to Maryland.
Yeah.
Michael's coming back from Cleveland, and we're gonna have a little shower/barbecue for us or me with friends and his friends and family down in Maryland, since I had my shower up
Nice.
here. Yeah, so nice little. But we'll be back on Sunday, hoping to avoid that Memorial Day weekend traffic because I can't sit in the car too long. But yeah, it should be a good weekend. I hope all the sickos have a good weekend too. Nice weather, so maybe people are listening to this podcast on their drive somewhere. So
And we've got the Ospreys coming up.
Yes.
We got to get it off before Marissa leaves in the
Yes.
middle of June on maternity leave. So
we're mapping it out. We're thinking
we gotta
what?
get to work.
What week are we thinking?
We're thinking either the first full week of June or the second full week of June.
Yeah. So mark your calendars. hopefully the baby doesn't surprise. Maybe the baby will like surprise us on Osprey's night or something.
Wow, that would be the greatest guest in Osprey's history.
Yeah. We'd have to do it. From,
Sorry,
like,
we
the
can't go.
hospital
We
room.
can't go to the hospital just yet. The baby
Yeah.
has to give a speech.
My contractions are only a few minutes apart. I have to finish this cameo.
Little Devin Dunn has something to say.
Yeah,
Zach, what did you think of the names?
I felt for Mike. I felt for Mike when Bo was like, actually, you eliminated Marissa's choice.
Yeah. Well,
that's-
it's funny. So my cousin Kyle listens to this. So if he's listening, he's the best and listens to all these podcasts. He's not an Eagles fan, but he
Oh, that's funny.
likes to, listen to my work and stuff like that. And his sister is the one named Erin. So he texted her and I get a call from my cousin Erin, like, I heard you were talking about my name on the podcast. And I was like, yeah, it's in contention. Went far with Michael. So we'll see. We still are undecided.
Are we? How close are we?
The list has not changed. It's so bad. I mean, I really I don't know. I don't know how you guys make these decisions, but eventually we're going to have to. I told the doctor this morning.
You leave it up to the mom. That's the key. Yeah.
The doctor said this morning, some babies go home as TBD. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we will be making that decision in the hospital, but still don't know. So
We settled it on it. We settled on it on the ride to
the ride to
we
the
were
hospital?
between two, and I said to Emily, I said, which one are we going with? And she
Yeah.
said she doesn't know. And I'm like, which one are you leaning toward? She said this one. And I said, that's what it is. Right.
Good answer, Zach.
But now that we're an hour and 20 minutes in the show, I do have a few Birds of Friends housekeeping things that I feel is important to clarify here. But
Okay.
I don't want to shortchange the name discussion.
Okay.
No, let's
Is
hear
everyone-
it.
Okay. And Bo was company to this yesterday. We've heard now from multiple writers who work in the media house. Okay. Who not just have my back, but have the same strategy that I do when it comes to the bathroom here. Bo decided to use our our high volume draft day podcast to put me in a corner on NovaCare complex bathroom things where everyone who listened said they do not touch that seat if it is up. Okay. That when
You
that
don't
thing
have
is
to
up-
judge yourself on other people's actions. You need to do what's right, regardless of what other people are doing.
No, I felt comfortable in my choice, but I think it was affirmed by what people were saying here that, yeah, when it's in there and it's up, you leave it up. A matter of fact, I would argue that you're probably inconveniencing more people by putting it down, because now the next person who comes in, and this is a problem with the Eagles Media Corps. We do need more female representation, but the majority of the people working in there are men who are going to be lifting that seat up. But yeah, most people just leave it as it is, which is what I said.
I like to hold myself to a higher standard. I'm sorry. I apologize for thinking of other people.
And then the second thing is I was at a really nice charity event the other night on Saturday night. And I had a few people come up to me who are listeners of the show. And I did what I always do. And I asked them for feedback. And actually, every one of them agreed with me on the length. They all said, yeah.
Which you bring up 80 minutes into the episode.
Yes. They say some of those pods can be shorter. So just want to bring that up. Someone says, what's the event? The event was Philly Fights Cancer. That was the event.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's too bad that the people fighting cancer have such bad opinions.
We need to we are going to donate all of the cameo money at the Ospreys.
Yes.
So we need to sort out how we're going to do that. So thanks to everybody that has paid for one of those, and it is all going to go to some good causes in Philly. So excited for that.
And I want to thank everyone who has tagged me on social media or sent me DMs about the recent news that has come out about which countries and like the amount of men who prefer to sit to pee. The brand is very strong. I'm glad to hear that. I'm not. It's a situation based thing. If you got to go pee in the middle of the night, take a seat, take a load off. Who needs to stand for that? Don't turn the light on. So it's good. I'm glad that not everybody is so protective of their machismo as Zach is.
Yeah, no, I stand by that one. I've never
Literally.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I am on team stand the P all times. Yes.
That's a drop.
It's not even protecting machismo. It's first off, it's so much more efficient. Okay. And
Not necessarily. You might be creating some spray.
that's a you problem right there, Bo.
You're 100% confident that if you're peeing in the dark in the middle of the night, that no splatter is getting anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, first off, I'm not. I'm not. It's not like pitch black, and I put on a light often. Yeah.
Not good for your sleep habits. Your eyes are gonna have to readjust.
Yeah. What sleep habits? I'm all over the place this week, man.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. The international travel really screwed me up. I was the first night I was there was the Sixers game, and so I stayed
Well,
up.
the good news is you didn't have to stay up for the whole thing.
Oh, I did because I wanted to watch the post game press conferences. But I was
That
On
is deranged.
vacation.
That is deranged.
What time was that game at?
That
for
is
you?
deranged.
So that game started at 10 o'clock there or 10:30 there.
Okay.
And
So when
I
were the press
watched it on League
conferences?
Pass. It was like 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Oh
I
my
wanted to-
God.
I mean,
That
Not gonna
is-
lie, Zach.
That is awful.
You blame Bo for like the staying up late stuff
Yeah.
sometimes. That is like no reason to stay up
I
late.
mean, I want to see what I had a full itinerary the next day. I wasn't gonna have time to watch.
all
like,
the more reason
Oh,
to
but you were gonna
sleep.
have time to troll Twitter and make sure you saw the latest PFWA announcement.
no, so that one actually, I got a message the day before. They asked me for like to sign off. They
Big
asked me
flex.
for a quote, and so I thought I had an obligation on that one there. And then
I
I
appreciate that, Zach.
and then I shared your story, which you can check out. By the way, I haven't been on. Look, we're an hour 27. I should wrap this up. I'm sorry, but I haven't
Yeah, I
been on
gotta pee
since
at
this
this
came
point.
out. Yeah, I had a
For being
story.
transparent.
I had a story 2 Fridays ago on Jason Kelsey at Broadcast Boot Camp. Please
Yes,
check
we
that
should.
out on The Athletic. So,
Please read that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Marissa's got to go.
Yep.
In more ways than one. So let's wrap this up. We'll talk to you at some point next week, hopefully, for Zach and Marissa and Michael and President Bartlett. We thank you for listening.
I wish.
We will talk to you later. And as always, we love you.